Hello again everybody, and welcome to the fourth episode in a series on strategic storytelling for business purposes. And in the last episode what I used was a short story, a very simple story called The Blackamoor, as a way of thinking about how a powerful story, well told, can achieve a tremendous amount in organizational life. But there are other times that you will be called upon to tell more elaborate stories that will open up a conversation that looks at a range of different organizational dynamics. And so what I'd like to do in this episode is to share with you a story that was told to me by a Danish storyteller, a woman called Lena Bjorn, many years ago, who visited South Africa, and we did a fair amount of work together. And during this work, Lena told a story which I think I've used hundreds of times now in organizational life to open up conversations about some of the change and transformation dynamics which are occurring broadly in business life. So the story goes as follows. Now it just so happens, good people, that of the many islands in the North Pacific Ocean, there are no tigers on the island of Borneo. And the story will tell you why. Now the Raj of Java, king of all the tigers, was very angry. He and his fellow tigers had eaten all there was to eat on the island of Java. Food was running scarce. And so the Raj summons 3 of his fiercest tiger warriors. "Fellow tigers," said the Raj of Java, "I have an instruction for you. I wish you to swim to the island of Borneo, where you shall deliver a message to the Raj of that island. You tell him he is to give up all edible foodstuffs on his island, and immediately dispatch it back to Java. And if he does not comply with my instructions, you tell him I'll send my armies and we will destroy every single living creature on the island of Borneo." "And what's more," said the Raj of Java, plucking a whisker from his royal face imperiously, "take this with you and give it to the Raj of Borneo as a sign, a symbol of the strength, the power, and the might of Java." Well, those 3 tiger warriors immediately complied with their Raj's instructions, for in their experience it was a wise thing to do. And they swam, and they swam, and they swam, and they swam, eventually reaching the shores of Borneo, where they went west, and they went east, and they went north, and they went south. But they could not find the Raj of Borneo, and it having been a long swim and a hot day, they decided just to take a short break under the cool shade of the palm trees on the beach whilst they pondered their predicament. Now it so happened that whilst those tigers discussed the state of affairs, a little mouse deer crossed the beach in front of them. Now we don't have mouse deer here in Africa where I come from. It's a little buck, no bigger than a mouse, or not much bigger. You get them in Borneo. And the fiercest of the tiger warriors said, "Mouse deer, come here, take us to your Raj. We have an instruction for him." "Oh, I can see that you have travelled far and you are resting," replied Mouse Deer. "Tell me what you would have our Raj know, and I promise I shall return with his response as soon as possible." Well, the 3 tiger warriors conferred for a while. It had been a long swim. It was a hot day. They were enjoying the shade. "Very well," said the fiercest of them. "You tell your Raj he is to give up all edible foodstuffs on this island and immediately dispatch it back to Java, where we come from. And tell him If he does not comply with our instructions, we will send our armies and we will destroy every single living creature on the island of Borneo, starting with you, mouse dear. And what's more, take this. It's a whisker from the royal face of Java. Give it to your Raj as a sign, a symbol of the strength, the power and the might of Java. Well, little Mousey immediately ran off the beach, but if the truth be known, he was in quite a panic, for there is no Raj on the island of Borneo. But he knew, should he report this news back to these tigers, well, he's likely to become a mouse deer society, or at least a piece of a mouse deer society. So going to and fro, backwards and forwards, thinking to himself, oh goodness me, whatever shall I do? Fortunately, he saw his friend the porcupine. Porcupine, porcupine, do me a favour please, do me a big favour, give me one of your quills, one of the big quills off your back. Sure, said Porcupine, for my old friend Mouse dear, you can have the biggest quill that I've got. And he pulled the quill out of his back and he gave it to Mouse dear. And Mouse dear, with the quill between his teeth, went rushing off back in the direction of the beach. What's this all about? Called Porcupine. Never mind, said Mouse dear, just know you would have saved the whole island. I'll tell you about it later. And he got back to the beach where those tigers were waiting. What took you so long? Said the fiercest of them. Well, said Mouse dear, our Raj was out hunting and I had to wait for the hunt to finish. And once the hunt was finished, I had to ask for an audience with the Raj. And once the audience had been granted, get on with it, said the fiercest of the warriors. So what does your Raj have to say for himself then? Well, Mouse deer stepped forward, a little nervous, in awe of the size and the fierceness of the beast that stood before him. But looking into the tiger's eyes, deep into his soul, this is what he told him. Our Raj says he's tired of peace. He finds peace boring. And he looks forward to the day that you send your armies so that he can test the strength, the power and the might of Borneo against Java. And what's more, he sends this. It's a whisker from his royal face. Take it with you and give it to your Raj as a sign, a symbol of the strength, the power and the might of Borneo. Well, the fiercest of the tiger warriors took the whisker from the royal face of Borneo, and he felt it. And he felt his own whiskers, and he could not help but notice the difference between the strength of the whisker he held before him and the flimsiness of his own. Ah, very well, he said. Our Raj waits impatiently. We must make the return journey. And so it was, good people, that those three tiger warriors did return to Java. They swam and they swam and they swam and they swam, eventually reaching the shores of home, where their Raj was waiting impatiently. Well, he said, did you comply with my instructions? Oh yes, yes indeed, said the fiercest of the warriors. So what does the Raj of Borneo have to say for himself then? Asked the Raj of Java. Well, the fiercest of the tiger warriors stepped forward, a little nervously, for he was not sure how his Raj was going to respond to this news. But looking into his Raj's eyes, deep into his soul, as Mouse deer had done to him, he repeated what Mouse deer had told him. The Raj of Borneo says he's tired of peace. He finds peace boring. And he looks forward to the day that we send our armies so that he can test the strength, the power and the might of Borneo against Java. And what's more, he sends this, it's a whisker from his royal face. Well, the Raj of Java took the whisker from the royal face of Borneo, and he looked at it, and he felt it, and he felt his own whiskers, and he could not help but notice the difference between the strength of the whisker he held before him and the flimsiness of his own. And so he settled back on his haunches momentarily. And then he sprang forward. Forget about the tigers on Borneo. We'll attack the elephants on Sumatra instead. Now, good people, whether the Raj of Java and his fellow tigers ever did attack the elephants on Sumatra, the story doesn't say. But one thing is for sure, to this day, there are no tigers on the island of Borneo. So here's a story which sets up a contrast between two different islands. On the one hand, Java, traditional, hierarchical, autocratic organization that aggresses against a competitor that it knows nothing about, Borneo. Borneo operates, it appears, along completely different principles to Java. Here we have no structure, we have a self-managed team, we have a lot more diversity on Borneo than we find in Java. In Java we have a dictator of a Raj who sends his tigers out under instruction. In Borneo we have a mouse deer who flies by the seat of his pants and solves the problem for everybody using his own personal leadership. Not consultative any more so though than the Raj of Java. A trickster, little mouse deer, who lies baldly, looks into the eyes of the tiger, deep into his soul, and then tells him a scandalous lie. We can use this story a lot in organizational life for thinking about what elements in our teams, in our organizations, in our sections are Java-like. To what extent are our teams, our sections, our divisions, our organizational culture more Borneo-like? If we were to think about an island like Sumatra, run by the elephants, what sort of features, if it was an ideal situation embodying the best of what Java has to offer and what Borneo has to offer, what sort of features would emerge in a place like Sumatra? I encourage you to use this story in your work as a strategic storyteller. It's a story which takes you about 10 minutes to tell, but can certainly elicit probably an hour or two of courageous discussion. Firstly, where the strategic storyteller would elicit what are the features, broadly speaking, of Java, what are the features, broadly speaking, of Borneo, and you could probably come up with 20, 30 features quite easily in a half an hour discussion. And then the more important aspect of using stories strategically is to say, well, to what extent are we like Java? To what extent are we like Borneo? To what extent do we need to change if we were to create an island such as Sumatra, which embodies the best of both? This is the kind of way that a strategic storyteller would work inside organizations. And I've used this story at the top level in very tough boardrooms in Johannesburg. I've also used it on the factory floor or in office environments. Everybody seems to love the story. Everybody seems to have an opinion or many opinions on the story as it applies to them in organizational life. Until next time, thank you.